So hello and welcome back. I've been wanting to do this gear review for a couple of weeks now, and we've finally got around to doing it. So this will be the gear that I use for my 50-mile ultra marathon, which was Lakes in a Day. So we'll look at what I was wearing, the actual gear itself, and all the mandatory kit and other little tips that I've got. So from a gear point of view, first of all, what I was actually wearing on the day, we used the Solomon Sense shorts. Now I like these because they've actually got a pocket front and back, just a little elasticated pocket, which is good enough for a small soft flask, your phone, or a couple of gels. Use those for a few marathons as well, basically because of the pockets for the gels. So they were good. Just some Innovate merino wool socks, New Balance t-shirt, and we wore base layer, which was the Innovate ATC this merino wool base layer there, and we had an extra one packed away in his bag. Shoe choice for the first part of the race, we used the VJ Extremes. Nice big lug on there. Quite a narrow shoe, but I never had a problem with it. And quite lightweight. I think it's about 210 grams in an 8.5. I might be wrong, but love those. Really good grip on everything. With a rock plate, the paths are no real issue either. For the second half of the race, I chose the Speedgoat 2. I'd use a different one next time. There was nothing particularly wrong with these, but they are quite heavy. So I would have probably picked a slightly lighter pair, probably the Torrent I'd have probably gone with if I were to choose that again. So that's the actual kit that I wore, and a buff I wore. And so the backpack I used was the Solomon Advanced Skiing, and it's the 12 set, and this thing's great. I love it. There's pockets absolutely everywhere, so either side you've got a mesh pocket, which normally I put the gels and things in there, anything that you're going to need quick access to, as well as two front bottle holders for the soft flasks, and a couple of little other pockets on top for compass, bits of loose change, things like that. On the back you've got this mesh pocket that runs the full length of the actual bag and the main actual compartment, and then either side you've got these zip pockets as well, normally where I put my keys or anything I don't actually want to lose. So this bag also, it has the whistle on it, so which is part of the mandatory kit. If I can find it, oh, it's there somewhere. There it is. So nice little whistle. Great piece of kit, and would highly recommend that one. Kit wise, gloves and a hat. They're just part of the mandatory ones. They got stuffed in the back main pocket. The waterproof jacket that I used was the Innovate Storm Shell. Rain jackets for me, they're good at keeping the cold water out, but I always end up as wet as I would do if I was stood in the rain. I've never met one that just doesn't make me sweat that much, but really does keep the water out. But yeah, still ended up a little bit wet with that. But that's the rain jacket that I use. Waterproof bottoms. They stuff away into their own small little bag. It was just a standard pair of Berghaus Hydra Shell Elite bottoms. Easy to get on because they zip mainly all the way up, well, to the bottom of your hip anyway, so they're easy to get on while you're still actually wearing your shoes. As I say, stuff away nice and small. Next is the Unive Polar Tech thermal layer. Again, love that, really nice and warm. It's difficult to actually wear it unless it is cold, because it just makes you really warm. So great for when you're cold, but just keep it in the bottom of the bag, and screws up really small again. Right, so mandatory kit wise as well was the bivy bag. Yeah, as it is, never intended on using that there, just in case you have to. Right, so what I did is I carried 3 soft flasks. From the start I carried 2 full ones and an empty one in the bag, which I intended on filling at the first aid station, because it was only, I'd reckoned it was about an hour and a half to the first checkpoint. So we filled 2, had 1 empty with a electrolyte capsule in the back, and then we filled them up when we got to that aid station. My intention was that the one with the electrolyte capsule in, I would actually drink that on the run up to the next climb, because we have a 2 or 3 mile section up to the next climb. So I was going to drink that on the run. The issue was, once I'd filled them with water, I couldn't remember which one I'd actually put the capsule in. So in future, what I would suggest is, if you're going to do something like that, mark the actual bottle with the capsule in it. Mandatory compass. I carried the Attic's Core headlamp. I'd intended on getting through the race in daylight. I ended up doing the last 2 miles in the dark. Didn't bother getting the head torch out at all. I just didn't want to stop to actually rummage it out at the bottom of the bag. But that's the one that I was carrying. A little tip that I'd like to claim credit for, but it wasn't mine, was with the actual spare batteries. What I would say is tape them together. So you're not fishing around for the actual batteries in the bag, and they're easy to grab, easy to put into the actual torch if you need the spare batteries. The other things that I was carrying at the time, some blister plasters, didn't have them in the box, some paracetamol, because ibuprofen's not particularly great for you. If you're a little dehydrated, it can be quite nasty. And to save a little bit of weight, what I did do was ditch my iPhone. I actually swapped it for just a cheap little nasty phone, not the cheapest one I could find, and it saved me about 170 grams in weight, which, with all the other little bits, kind of added up to about nearly 1 kilograms worth of savings over the entire route. Thought it was really clever and got a little metal cup, and then somebody came up with a much better idea. A little Tommy Tippy cup with one of the handles cut off, a little bit of sandpaper to make it smooth, and it was actually the perfect size for the bivy bag to go in, so it didn't cost me any actual room at all. And I had no intentions of really hanging around at aid stations for warm drinks or anything like that, so that just went in the bottom of the bag. I also carried a little bit of money and a credit card, and what I did do, instead of a dry bag, was put everything in these sealable little sandwich bags, so you could see each individual item, what it was, so it was easy to get out of the bag if I needed it. I used a few little electrolyte tablets. These were just my protein ones that I found. So yeah, just some electrolyte tablets. I carried a few Cliff bars. They were alright at the start. The first couple I had were alright. Then I found them really difficult to get down. It took me about 20 minutes to eat one of these later on in the race. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend carrying too many. Just have them at the beginning. It tasted alright, so that was alright. The gels that I used were the high 5 gels. I carried loads. Like I say, I had no intention of stopping at aid stations. It was literally filling my water up and going, and I had my own energy supply for the actual race. I did have one little low spell, and what I used was some Kendall mint cake. Now, it was really good. Like I say, it was just one little low that I had at about 30 miles. Ate about a third of a bar of that with a bit of water, and we actually got through the rest of the race, picked up really quickly, and managed to finish in a decent time. So we finished 12th overall in 11 hours 11 minutes, and I was really pleased with that. So that was everything that I carried and everything that I used through the race. I have got to tell you that when you've washed these, the best thing to do with them then is stick them in the freezer so that the water doesn't go all gammy inside. I had my instructions that I had to tell you that. Yeah, so that was everything that I used. If you've liked this video, then please subscribe, and there are other couple of video options if you want to watch those. Thanks for watching along. Thanks, bye.